26, 2022. The committee is meeting to consider 9 nominations, 13 legislative measures, and 1 postal naming bill. I note the presence of a quorum. I'd first just like to thank Ranking Member Portman and his staff for working to hold this markup today and advance critical legislation. It's always a privilege to work with all of your very capable staff to make this reality. So thank you, Ranking Member Portman. Today we're going to be considering the nominations of Margaret Burnham to be a member of Civil Rights Cold Case Records Review Board, Gabrielle Dudley to be member of the Civil Rights Cold Case Records Review Board, Henry Klebanoff to be a member of the Civil Rights Cold Case Records Review Board, Brenda E. Stevenson to be a member of the Civil Rights Cold Case Records Review Board, Ed Gonzalez to be the Secretary for Immigration and Customs Enforcement, U.S. Department of Homeland Security, Kathy Harris to be a member and chairman of the Merit Systems Protection Board, Tova Calderon to be Associate Judge, District of Columbia Court of Appeals, Honorable Susan Grundman to be a member of the Federal Labor Relations Authority, and Adrian Noti to be the Associate Judge, Superior Court of the District of Columbia. There were 2 additional nominees on the agenda that were supposed to be taken up today, but in discussions with Ranking Member Portman, we have agreed to hold over, as I know a number of members requested additional time to review them, and we want to accommodate that. I'll be very brief. These are 9 highly qualified nominees who are ready to take on vital roles, and I hope my colleagues will join me in advancing these. Before we proceed to consideration of the nominations, recognize Ranking Member Portman, but would again ask other members if you could defer any comments till we're done voting would be helpful. Everybody is on a very tight, crazy schedule today. So Ranking Member Portman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate everybody being here. Today we're going to consider 13 pieces of legislation on the agenda that reflect some good bipartisan consensus. I appreciate people working out some of the differences on those. For example, we're going to consider S3487, honoring civil servants killed in the line of duty, offered by Senator Sinema, which I co-sponsor along with Senator Peters, Padilla, Haggerty, and others. This bill honors federal civil servants who died in the line of duty by increasing the death gratuity and funeral expenses paid to their survivors. They haven't been increased since 1997 with regard to the death gratuity and the funeral expense, not since 1966. So it's an appropriate time to be looking at updating these benefits. But that's one example. Another would be S521, a bill I've led with Senator Carper to ensure the Postal Service continues to sell these vanishing species stamps, the tiger stamp so-called, until all the printed copies have been sold. It would be wasteful and irresponsible to destroy these stamps. And the proceeds from them goes to support conservation efforts around the world to help protect these vanishing species at no cost to the taxpayer. Also proud to lead a bill naming 2 World War II aviators, John Lear and Herbert Heilbrunn, a post office in Avondale in Cincinnati, Ohio will now be named after them. It's a heck of a story. I wish I had more time to go into it. I have a photograph of the 2 of them here in grade school together. They were both aviators, one black, one white. Didn't know that they were each flyers because they were segregated in World War II, then came back together after that and continued their service by sharing their wartime experiences and promoting racial understanding throughout the country. And so I think it's appropriate that we act on that. I do have concerns with 3510, the Disaster Resiliency Planning Act. I'm willing to allow this bill to move forward through committee, but it needs work. The bill would require OMB to establish guidance requiring agencies to incorporate natural disaster resilience into real property asset management, investment decisions. I understand OMB has reservations about the bill. I do too. So while this bill is well intended, I think increasing the resiliency of our federal assets is a generally good thing to do. We need to do additional work to address these concerns, and that will constrain the efforts to advance resiliency planning at agencies if we don't, in my view. We're also considering a number of nominations today, several of which we considered during the first session, 117th. I do appreciate, Senator Peters, your willingness to pull some of these nominees, particularly to postpone committee votes on the nominations of Ernest Dubester and Kurt Rumsfeld for positions with the Federal Labor Relations Authority. Yesterday, the committee received some troubling documents received by an outside group through a FOIA request related to these nominees. An initial review of those documents raised very concerning issues to me, and I think they will to others when they see them as well, that need to be properly vetted by the committee. I plan to support the 4 nominees to the Civil Rights Cold Case Records Review Board after studying their backgrounds and experiences, talking to them. I believe they meet the qualifications outlined in the statute, long overdue to get this started, and I think they will be impartial as they try to balance public disclosure and privacy interests. We have a number of other nominees that I'm not going to be able to support. Sheriff Ed Gonzalez has been renominated for the ICE Director position. ICE Director is tasked with protecting America from cross-border crime, of course, and unlawful immigration that threaten national security and public safety. During his hearing last July, Sheriff Gonzalez committed to enforce our nation's immigration law, but frankly, his history with ICE, both his statements and his actions regarding the agencies he is nominated to lead, are deeply concerning to me, and I think would be by the rank-and-file members of ICE. One of his first actions as Sheriff of Harris County was to end formal cooperation with ICE. As an example, on numerous occasions during his time as sheriff, he criticized ICE and stated he only worked with them because he was compelled to do so under a Texas law that he openly and vocally opposed while it was being debated in the Texas legislature. So I just believe that this is not the right time to put that kind of leadership in place at ICE, given all the issues we've got with the crisis at the border. The law enforcement agents there need strong leadership now, more than ever, in my view. I certainly recognize his many years of law enforcement, and I commend him for that, as I said at the time. But again, this year I'm not able to support his nomination, as I was not last year. Kathy Harris has been nominated as a member and chair of the Merit Systems Protection Board. I won't be able to support her nomination today. Members of MSPB must be steadfast in their impartiality. They must treat federal employees that come before them all the same. Through her partisan statements, Ms. Harris has generated doubt as to whether she can meet that standard. Again, we've had this discussion and debate. We're also considering Susan Grunman's nomination to FLRA. I believe the committee should wait and move forward with FLRA nominees until we have a full bipartisan slate. So I would not be supporting moving forward today. With that, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much again for having this meeting and working with us on so many of these bills and even some of the nominations that will be successful today in getting bipartisan support. I look forward to our discussions.
All right, thank you, Ranking Member Portman. I understand that members have asked for roll call votes on 5 of the nominations that we are considering today. We will first consider the nomination of Ed Gonzalez to be the Assistant Secretary for Immigration and Customs Enforcement, U.S. Department of Homeland Security. The question is on whether to favorably report Mr. Gonzalez's nomination. The clerk will call the roll.
Senator Carper. Aye. Senator Hassan. Aye. Senator Sinema. Aye. Senator Rosen. Aye. Senator Padilla. Aye. Senator Ossoff. Aye. Senator Portman. No. Senator Johnson.
No by proxy.
Senator Paul.
No by proxy.
Senator Langford. No. Senator Romney.
No by proxy.
Senator Scott. No. Senator Hawley. No. Senator Peters.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, on the of those present, the yeas are 7, the nays are 4. On the vote by proxy, and for the record only, the yeas are 0, the nays are 3. On this vote, the yeas are 7, the nays are 4, and the motion to report the nominee is agreed to.
The nomination is favorably reported to the Senate. We'll now consider 2 separate nominations of Kathy Harris to serve as a member of the Merit Systems Protection Board and as chairman of the MSPB. We will have a roll call vote, but I would ask for unanimous consent to consider both of her nominations en bloc. Hearing no objection, the question is favorable. No objection, we will have the vote. The clerk will call the roll.
Senator Carper. Aye. Senator Hassan. Aye. Senator Sinema. Aye. Senator Rosen. Aye. Senator Padilla. Aye. Senator Ossoff. Aye. Senator Portman.
No.
Senator Johnson.
No by proxy.
Senator Paul.
No by proxy.
Senator Langford. No. Senator Romney.
No by proxy.
Senator Scott. Senator Hawley. No. Senator Peters.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, on the vote of those present, the yeas are 7, the nays are 4. On the vote by proxy, and for the record only, the yeas are 0, the nays are 3. On this vote, the yeas are 7, the nays are 4, and the motion to report the nominee is agreed to.
These nominations, the 2 nominations, are favorably reported to the Senate en bloc. Next question is, that we've done that en bloc. Is that correct? Next tab, right? We'll now consider the nomination of Tova Calderon to be the Associate Judge, District of Columbia Court of Appeals. The question is on whether to favorably report Ms. Calderon's nomination. The clerk will call the roll.
Senator Carper. Aye. Senator Hassan. Senator Sinema. Senator Rosen. Senator Padilla. Senator Ossoff. Senator Portman.
No.
Senator Johnson.
No by proxy.
Senator Paul.
No by proxy.
Senator Langford. Senator Romney.
No by proxy.
Senator Scott. Senator Hawley. Senator Peters.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, on the vote of those present, the yeas are 7, the nays are 4. On the vote by proxy and for the record only, the yeas are 0, the nays are 3. On this vote, the yeas are 7, the nays are 4, and the motion to report the nominee is agreed to.
The nomination is favorably reported to the Senate. We will now consider the nomination of Susan Grundman to be a member of the Federal Labor Relations Authority. The question is on whether to favorably report Ms. Grundman's nomination. The clerk will call the roll.
Senator Carper. Aye. Senator Hassan. Aye. Senator Sinema. Aye. Senator Rosen. Aye. Senator Padilla. Aye. Senator Ossoff. Aye. Senator Portman.
No.
Senator Johnson.
No by proxy.
Senator Paul.
No by proxy.
Senator Langford. No. Senator Romney.
No by proxy.
Senator Scott. Senator Hawley. No. Senator Peters.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, on the vote of those present, the yeas are 7, the nays are 4 on this vote. And for the vote by proxy and for the record only, the yeas are 0, the nays are 3. On this vote, the yeas are 7, the nays are 4, and the motion to report the nominee is agreed to.
The nomination is favorably reported to the Senate. We'll now consider the nomination of Adrian Jennings Noti to be the Associate Judge, Superior Court of the District of Columbia. The question is on whether to favorably report Ms. Noti's nomination. The clerk will call the roll.
Senator Carper. Aye. Senator Hassan. Aye. Senator Sinema. Aye. Senator Rosen. Senator Padilla. Aye. Senator Ossoff. Senator Portman.
No.
Senator Johnson.
No by proxy.
Senator Paul.
No by proxy.
Senator Langford. Senator Romney.
No by proxy.
Senator Scott. Senator Hawley.
Aye.
Senator Peters.
Aye.
Problematic.
Mr. Chairman, on the vote of those present, the yeas are 7, the nays are 4. On the vote by proxy and for the record only, the yeas are 0, the nays are 3. On this vote, the yeas are 7, the nays are 4, and the motion to report the nominee is agreed to.
The nomination is favorably reported to the Senate. The committee will now proceed to consideration of 4 additional nominations. I ask a unanimous consent that we consider reporting the following nominations en bloc. Margaret Burnham to be a member, Civil Rights Cold Case Records Review Board. Gabrielle Dudley to be a member of the Civil Rights Cold Case Records Review Board. Henry Klebanoff to be a member, Civil Rights Cold Case Records Review Board. And Brenda Stevenson to be a member, Civil Rights Cold Case Review Board. Hearing no objection to the unanimous consent, all those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. The majority of members members present having voted in the affirmative, the ayes have it, and the nominations are reported favorably to the Senate.
Mr. Chairman, can I be recorded as a no on the first one, Margaret Burnham?
Senator Scott will be recorded accordingly.
Mr. Chairman, I'd also like to be recorded as a no for Burnham.
And Senator Hawley will also be recorded as a no. The committee will now proceed to the consideration of 13 legislative measures and 1 postal naming bill. I would ask unanimous consent that we consider reporting the following legislation en bloc. S. 2801 Smart Act of 2021 as amended by a Sinema-Langford substitute amendment. S. 3092 Fire Act of 2021 as amended by a Padilla substitute amendment and Scott Amendment 2. S. 3502 Achieving Equity and Disaster Response, Recovery, and Resilience Act of 2022. S. 3499 to amend the Post-Katrina Emergency Management Reform Act of 2006 to repeal certain obsolete requirements and for other purposes. S. 3487 honoring civil servants killed in the line of duty act. S. 407 Air America Act of 2021 is amended by a Portman-Peters substitute amendment. S. 3423 Chance to Compete Act of 2021 is amended by a Sinema substitute amendment as modified. S. 3510 Disaster Resiliency Planning Act as amended by a Peters-Scott substitute amendment. S. 3470 End Human Trafficking in Government Contracts Act of 2022. S. 521 Multinational Species Conservation Funds Semi-Postal Stamp Reauthorization Act of 2021. S. 3512 Disaster Contract Improvement Act as amended by a Scott Peters substitute amendment as modified, S. 2135, Wasteful Federal Programs Reduction Authorization Act, as amended by a Hassan substitute amendment as modified, S. 2483, Improving Cybersecurity of Small Organizations Act of 2021, as amended by a Rosen substitute amendment, and H.R. 960 to designate the facility of the United States Postal Service located at 3493 Burnett Avenue in Cincinnati, Ohio, as the John H. Lear and Herbert M. Heilbrunn Post Office. Hearing no objection to the unanimous consent request, all those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. The majority of members present having voted in the affirmative, the ayes have it, and the measures are reported favorably to the Senate.
Mr. Chairman, can I be reported as a
Scott.
no on 3502?
Will be recorded. Senator Scott will be recorded as no.
Mr. Chairman, I'd also like to be recorded as a no on S 3502.
Will be recorded. Senator Hawley will be recorded as a no as well. Before I recognize other members, we're done with our voting portion of the meeting here, but before I recognize other members, I'd like to quickly thank my colleagues for all their work on the SMART Act, especially Senator Sinema and Langford for your leadership. This bill has certainly come a long way over the previous three Congresses, and I'm committed to working with members and the administration to address any outstanding views that are out there. With that, any member would wish to be recognized.
Chairman.
Senator Carper.
Mr. Chairman, thanks very much. Congratulations, everybody. I'm well pleased and impressed by how this has moved today. I've previously supported the SMART Act, S. 2801. I did not oppose it today, but I would just say, as the chairman of the Environment and Public Works Committee, we do have some reservations. And on behalf of myself, my staff, and others on our Environment and Public Works Committee, I would just like to note that the authors of the legislation, thank you for working with us to this point in time, and we look forward to continue to do that as this bill makes its way to the floor. Thanks so much.
Senator Sinema.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to thank my colleagues for their support on the SMART Act. We know that this common sense legislation improves the long tradition of agency retrospective review of regulations. I also want to thank the Office of Management and Budget for the detailed negotiations that they engaged in with us to help get the bill to a place where they were comfortable. And I'm grateful that both Senator Langford and I have been able to work closely with them. The input that the OMB provided has made the bill better, and I'm looking forward to continuing to work with colleagues to help improve the bill's move forward. You know, when we build on the culture of review across federal government, we improve outcomes and increase accountability and enhance efficiency. So I'm grateful for the movement of this bill. I also want to just take a moment to mention the Chance to Compete Act, which is another bipartisan bill that we've been working on today that makes important modifications to the federal hiring process and ensures that agencies assess applicants and share information about applicants. And I want to thank our bipartisan co-sponsors, Senator Langford, Senator Hagerty, and Senator Carper, and for the strong stakeholder support that we have from the largest employee and manager groups that agree that this is a better way for us to manage hiring moving forward. So I'm looking forward to continue working with OPM and other federal agencies to make sure that this bill helps make our government more efficient and effective. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Sinema. Senator Langford.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I do want to thank Senator Sinema as well for working through all the issues on the SMART Act. The Biden administration and the Office of Management and Budget was tremendously helpful in giving technical assistance and good ideas. It has improved on this. This is something we've actually voted on several times to be able to look at, and I think this is improved, and the language is even better as we go through it. The main point of the SMART Act still is an issue for the federal government. It's when we create a set of regulations to set some metrics in place and to set a date where we're going to go back and look at it for things that are going to affect our economy in a significant way, to be able to set a future date to say we're going to make sure this actually does what we thought it would do. And then 8 years from now, 9 years from now, whenever that is, to come back and look at it again and go, did it accomplish what we thought it would do? If it didn't, let's reevaluate it and try to figure out how to make sure it actually does accomplish that. Is a reasonable thing to be able to do in government, and is a good government idea that's been around a long time. So glad to be able to partner with Senator Sinema on this and President Biden's Office of Management and Budget to be able to get this through today, and we'll keep working this process on. Thank you.
Senator Rosen.
Thank you, Chairman Peters, and of course, Ranking Member Portman for holding today's markup, which includes the Improving Cybersecurity of Small Businesses, Nonprofits, and Local Governments Act, bipartisan legislation that I introduced with Senator Cornyn. Small organizations, from nonprofit hospitals to small businesses to our local school districts, are increasingly vulnerable to debilitating cyber attacks, and many of them, well, they just lack the resources and personnel to manage complex cyber risks. To address this, the Improving Cybersecurity of Small Businesses, Nonprofits, and Local Governments Act directs CISA to publish and promote an annual report that documents and promotes evidence-based cybersecurity policies for small entities. It also offers voluntary training and technical assistance from federal agencies to small businesses and other eligible entities on how to implement the recommendations from that report. I look forward to seeing how this bipartisan legislation advance so we can provide small businesses, the nonprofits, our local governments with each and every resource we can to protect themselves and all of us from those cyber threats. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Padilla.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you and Ranking Member Portman for your hard work and that of your staff for helping to advance the FIRE Act out of committee this morning. All across the western United States, historic wildfires are growing more frequent and more severe. Every year, we see entire communities destroyed in a matter of hours, as we saw this year in Colorado and as we've seen in previous years, recent years, in California. In those instances, families are oftentimes forced to flee with only the belongings they can fit into their cars. Last year, I had an opportunity to visit an incident command center in Quincy, California, to see firsthand the response, real-time response to the devastating Dixie Fire. Also had an opportunity to meet with local leaders in Santa Rosa, California, to hear about the problems with recovery from previous catastrophic fires in that region. The FIRE Act that we have approved today will help ensure FEMA addresses the unique and increasing danger of wildfires. FEMA's current abilities and requirements don't always work for post-wildfire recovery needs, and this bill will significantly close those gaps. Closing those gaps begins with preparation. The FIRE Act will allow FEMA to pre-deploy resources during times of extreme high risk, such as red flag warnings that we're all too familiar with in California, pre-position resources much like we do already during hurricane warnings. Then, as communities are rebuilding after a disaster, this bill will work with FEMA to ensure that it takes wildfire-specific concerns into account, like melted infrastructure, not a scenario you see with other types of disasters, and burned trees, yet another example. Would also allow local governments to more effectively relocate critical infrastructure away from fire-prone areas. In the aftermath of a fire, this bill will also help provide better housing assistance, case management, and crisis counseling for survivors, with a focus on equity for underserved communities and tribal governments. And with the FIRE Act, we'll be able to better prepare for and respond to the unique challenges of wildfires and aid the people on the front lines of the climate crisis in California and throughout the western United States. So I'm thankful again for the majority and minority committee staff who contributed to the bill, as well as our partners at FEMA. As Californians know, our need to take action on wildfire response is urgent. I'm proud of the work of this bill so far, and I want to thank you again, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for your leadership. Senator Padilla. Senator Ossoff, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just want to mark the committee's passage of the Improving Cybersecurity for Small Organizations Act. Thank the chairman for his support. It's been a pleasure working with Senator Rosen and Senator Cornyn on this bipartisan legislation. Cybercrime costs businesses and people across the United States billions of dollars every year. This is a big step forward to help small businesses in Georgia and across the country to defend themselves against malware and ransomware, hacking, and cyber attacks. I'm pleased that we were able to move this through the committee today. Thank you, and I yield.
Thank you for your leadership, Senator Ossoff. Seeing no other member wishing to be recognized, this business meeting is now adjourned.